What's going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again, coming at you with another video for Skylanders Ring of Heroes. We just had a nice little sneak peek drop. Patch 1.0.10 is going to be right around the corner. We got a couple of things to talk about, and in addition to that, a couple of new units that we're going to be looking to get. So what I'm going to do in this video is just kind of go through the list of patch notes that we got for you guys, and then I'm going to look at the skill balance revision a little bit more closely. The Tech, Magic, and the Undead Skylanders are going to be receiving some balance changes, so I personally would like to see these three Skylanders make some changes, one of which is in each of the different elements that we're talking about here. So in addition to the skill balance revision, we have the more entries for guild evasion. So this is going to increase from 1 to 3, which I'm kind of curious to see how this goes. It looks like the rewards are going to be adjusted accordingly. So does this mean that we just get 3 chances with lower rewards and we get a potential chance to like get the best of 3 scores? Or is it just everything's reduced and, even though you made derp on 1, you can have, 2 more chances to take it on and, make up for maybe some unlucky glancing blows or something like that on the boss. So I'm kind of curious as how that's going to go on. Let me know what you guys think about that. What kind of changes are you predicting for this specific guild evasion here? Now, 2 new Skylanders that are going to be introduced here. We got Drobot, which is a tech expert, and then we got Head Rush, Earth Defense. So I think I'm a little bit more excited to see what Drobot brings to the mix here because, obviously we're all working on our, Beast Labyrinth teams and whatnot. We already got some really solid teams that we've been incorporating for whatever it is, B7 through B10. However, now people are going to start to be looking into Wailing 10 or Wailing 9 and 10 if you haven't already. And if I recall correctly, the tech element has the elemental advantage on the Wailing 10 boss here. So that's going to be pretty beneficial if he decides to, if he has a really good kit here. Now, one thing I want to point out there, this thing right here, don't forget to collect as many Drobot Soul Stones and the other items in the Magic Shop. The other items is really where I want to come in close because you guys know that they're already going to put those skill ups that we need in there. So make sure that you're taking full advantage of this when this drops. Don't cut this one short. Make sure that you get all the pieces you need to get yourself those free skill ups here. And just to kind of talk about the previous dungeon, it didn't take too long if you put a little bit of effort into it. You didn't need, like, they gave us like 14 days. We really didn't need that much long. So but just make sure that you're just get enough resources to get the things that you absolutely need, and then kind of go from there. Go back to the normal grind, whether it's shards or whether it's room farming now. So as far as the getting back to the skill balance revision here, the Tech, the Magic, and the Undead Skylanders that we're going to take a look at. Now, again, I think there's a couple of units in all the categories, but I just want to focus on the ones that kind of hit me the most. Now, the first one I want to take a look at is Trigger Happy. And the first time I heard about Trigger Happy, funny enough, we hear about a lot of Skylanders, right? Throughout the game, people testing about this and that, whatever. But the first time I heard about this was actually on Tectone's video talking about, one of the units that want to change, and I couldn't agree with him more. If you didn't get a chance to check it out, we'll kind of review it here in a little bit. The first skill, if the enemy's defeated, you got the accuracy up bonus for 2 turns. The second skill, you have the golden machine gun. This is when it's awakened, right? When you get it awakened, it fires the enemy and then provides the attack buff for 2 turns. And then his bonus hit that can be incorporated is going to provide it when you have 4 more buffs here. Now, as you guys know, this can be reduced to a 3-turn buff, but basically, with regards to this, additional damage that could be brought on this unit, there's too much. There's too much conditional situations here, and you're going to see this kind of across the board with the units that we look at. Too many things that need to be set in place. Too much setup, in order for you to make this unit work here. Now, this skill right here. The fact that you have to be defeated in order to take it out. I mean, unless this guy has really good damage multipliers, this is not obviously, it's not going to work out, perfectly here. The golden machine gun, obviously the attack buff is great, but from what I understand, this is an attack buff, single target attack buff, and we already have a unit within the tech element category, Boomer, that's providing not only the attack up for 2 turns, but it provides it for the entire party. So it's like, if we're going for, looking for a unit that we can incorporate for, Wailing or whatever, maybe we're looking for a damage dealer, wouldn't it make more sense to bring a unit that provides the attack buff for your party, especially if you're looking at creating, speed comps down the road? You want as much damage as possible here, so you want to be able to set up your entire party for max damage versus have one unit that could potentially get attack up and then maybe in a bonus hit. So like I said, too much conditional stuff going on here. The only thing that's really good right now is the critical damage, which can be definitely useful down the road when we actually incorporate it. But overall, too much setup. Would love to see this second skill changed, and then I would love to see the reduction similar to what Tectone said. Again, I apologize in advance. I'm kind of echoing what he said. Not too much to change. I completely agree with him. And if you guys haven't checked that video out already to take a look at the other 4 units that were looked at in that video, then I will leave a link in the description down below so you guys can go ahead and check them out, okay? Now, next one is Splat. So this one here, I'm actually going to give a shout out to Treight with Treight Gaming. This is one of the units that he showcased a while back here. So this is a pretty cool unit. The first of which, first time that I ever looked at a unit that had, you know, a mechanic that, you know, you generally don't see here. So Mystery. If you guys haven't checked this one out, Mystery decreases the duration of effects when inflicted with harmful effects, and that's when you are inflicted with harmful effects. So if you have Mystery up and somebody puts a 2-turn defense break on you, it's going to get reduced to a 1-turn defense break. Or if you have Diminish, right? If you have Diminish for 3 turns, it's going to get reduced to 2 turns. 2 turns to 1 turn, you know, whatever the case may be, right? So this one here essentially doesn't allow those harmful effects to stay on you too long, and that's really, really good because obviously if there's some kind of harmful effects that are reducing your damage or reducing your defense in order for them to do more damage, it's just going to be a pain in the butt to do what the unit is intended to do. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at it Awaken so you guys can see what's going on here. This unit right here, the first skill, Artisan Art, I can't even talk right now, right? Attacks with the giant paintbrush and removes the buffs from one random enemy when under Mystery here. And then regains mana by 1 point when the buff is removed. So this is kind of nice. You got the regains mana. Now the second skill, Heave, it's a little bit off on chopping that up. It gets to get changed here, but basically what it actually does is inflicts damage on the enemy and then attacks the random enemy. And then the bonus hit that it's talking about goes back to the targeted unit that you originally targeted and that provides that 30% ignore defense here if it's under Mystery here. So that one, again, it's a lot of things going on here, but again, obviously there's a lot of damage potential there if there's not a lot of enemies, right? Now, Die Hard, this one here inflicts damage on the enemy, and then if it's under Mystery, it casts the defense down for 1 turn. So obviously, what, you know, the Mystery, the passive, that's what we're talking about. 70% chance coming out of the gate for that 1 turn, but it can get improved to a 2-turn buff with a 100% chance here. So this is really, really nice if you have the critical hit to back it up. Obviously, you already know that you're going to have to stack a ton of critical hit, taking away a little bit of the attack damage, but that's okay, as a lot of us are playing around with a lot of crit rate, crit damage builds for the time being until we get the better runes in order for us to take advantage of 2 attack runes on the slot 2 and slot 6. Now, let's go break this down a little bit, right? This first skill, the attacks the enemy and with the giant base it removes 1 buff with a random enemy under the Mystery. So again, this is one of the things about the conditional. I think the condition on this one, you have, until you skill it up, you're not going to have that consistency that you're looking for. But the random enemy when under a Mystery, this is something that is kind of, it's kind of interesting to figure out here because obviously it's a random enemy that can remove the buff. However, does it take into consideration other things in the game right now? Like when we think about Beast Labyrinth or Wailing Labyrinth right now is you got the boss and you got the 2 towers, right? So the 2 towers are buffing up the boss. The boss is getting the buffs, right? So is it always going to remove the buffs on the boss? Sure, then it's going to be a nice reliable thing. But my question is down the road when we get content that has the boss plus adds, the random, is this ability really going to be able to shine because we cannot control the unit that we're looking to debuff here, right? So I like to see something that allows you to maybe strip it on the unit that you're targeted on, because when we think about another thing to think about is fire goes in line with the magic element. So we already have Kaboom that essentially can target the unit that you're looking for and provide that buff in addition to the bombs and the attack rate. We got so much in that kit here. So do we really need another unit that can provide a little RNG when it comes to that strip, or do we want something else here? So that's an interesting question here. Now, the next 2 abilities here, the damage potential on this one is really nice. Again, kind of similar to the random enemy. Is this always going to attack the boss if the towers are available, or does it attack the towers here? And is the amount of damage that is can be had in this skill after you have the Mystery buff up? Is that worth the kind of mana cost here? Because we think about some of the other units that we're bringing on. 5 mana cost is relatively high, and then having 2 abilities like this one, Heave and Die Hard, have that in. Is that really going to be beneficial, or is it too much for some of all the other setup that we need? Again, a very conditional. These units that we're taking a look at are very, very conditional. So when we look at this one here, does this unit provide enough bang for a buck to consider utilizing skills that have 5 mana cost versus other units that provide a decent amount of support with a lower mana cost so that we can keep our abilities cycling here? That's my concern for this one. I'd probably like to see a little bit of reduction on this one, maybe reduce the mana a little bit. You can improve the cooldown a little bit, but I think it's a little bit too high for the time being. But again, I'm curious to hear your guys' feedback. Now, Now, if I didn't say it enough already, I think there's a couple of units within each element that needs a little TLC, but these are just the top ones in my humble opinion that could use some changes here. Now, yeah, I don't really think there needs to be a change on the mystery here. I mean, it goes up to a 100% effective chance with a +2 there. Nothing really to change. I think it's more so the mana cost and then some of the RNG versus some of the other units within its elemental like category that can do what it can do, but a little bit better, right? So last one that I want to take a look at is Roller Brawl. Now this one here is an undead one. Again, undead in general just don't really get a lot of love because of the fact of what the current content is available on. The progression right now really, focus on fire and magic or water and tech Skylanders because those have the elemental advantage towards the main dungeons. Now, I'm guessing down the road we'll have some more dungeons that will be able to take care of like an air and undead kind of elemental advantage. So we'll be able to, use a little bit more. Outside of that, I mean, right now for Guild Evasion is really the only thing we're focused on until they get the Guild Wars to drop. Now, that being said, though, let's get back to the task at hand. Let's take a look at it Awaken so we can break it down. So first skill, Deadly Clothesline. 1 mana for 1 enemy here. It's gonna looks like do an AoE and then provide the attack up for all allies. Now there is no improvement on the attack up. It's only gonna stay at a 1 turn here. This next one, Puree, I think I can't even know. You guys let me know how you pronounce that here. Delivers a Flurry's Eclipse and grants crit damage up for 1 turn if the enemy has Explode. Okay, and then down below we have Escape Blade, another active ability here. Fires your escape blade. If the crit rate up is active, attacks all enemies with a bonus hit. So, I mean, you kind of already get what we're going at here. 70% chance to drain for 1 turn when landing a critical hit. It's just kind of an interesting mechanic here. Critical clause, providing a drain for you alone if you land a critical hit. Yet you have a couple of different things that are trying to provide additional damage. Right? This is an attacker, right? So we're looking to do damage with this one. This is not something that's generally built, in a tanky fashion. So drain, is it really going to help? I mean, if we're incorporating maybe other units like Broccoli Guy that are giving us the heal, or maybe we're just, maybe this is something for down the road, ever using speed, doing speed runs, and we're rocking Gulper. We got the defense buff. Maybe the little bit of a drain will help out. But ultimately, I think it's just not enough for the overall kit here. Too much setup, similar to the other 2 units here. You need to have the crit rate up buff, and obviously she doesn't give it. The crit damage up is something that she can give, but you need to have another unit that provides the Explode. Now, this is not too bad, as there's a lot of meta units right now that we incorporate that have, bombs or whatnot. Obviously, when we think about, oh yeah, this is undead. I was thinking about magic, but there's a lot of units out there that provide it that we're already incorporating. However, again, you need a handful of setup, whereas there's other units right now that are really strong that provide enough support for the team that's not heavily reliant on anybody else. They just bring what they do for the party, and it works really good here. So what kind of changes would I like to see? I don't know. I guess I would like to see something with a conditional aspect here. I wish it wouldn't have to be Explode, or at least if it's I wish it really would have to be. So I wish it would just provide the crit damage up, because I don't think we have any other units right now that provide just a straight crit damage buff up. Maybe one that I could think of, but nothing that really comes to mind right now. And then the crit rate buff up right now, there's only a handful of units that have this ability available. So you really have to kind of pick and choose the units that we have. I can't recall. You guys have to tell me in the chat. There is a unit, I think it's in the magic category, not Deja Vu, or not Ningini, but there's another unit that has a passive to provide a critical rate buff up, but it's only like 30 or 40%. It's not reliable. So again, I can't think of all the units right now that have the crit rate up buff, but again, it's just too much setup between the majority of the skills, and the drain just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me. I'd like to see something else going here. But that being said, guys, again, I want to put that full disclaimer out there. This is just my humble opinion. Lord knows you guys are OP. You probably know more than me about this stuff. I'd love to hear your opinion on the top units within the tech, the magic, and the undead. Which one of the ones that you think needs all the TLC, all the attention that needs to be had in this change here? Let me know in the comment section down below which ones those are and why you would go ahead and change them. Okay, so that's going to be it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's your boy Childish with ChildishPlays checking out. Take care, and we will see you all in the next one. I'm out.